Call to order the regular meeting of the City of Aransas Pass City Council, December 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Let's all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings that you've given us. We ask, my Father, your guidance upon us as City Council, that we make the right decisions for our city. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we're going to go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the November 15th, 2021 regular meeting as printed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, Gary, you said on 6-1?
Yes, in the case of 6-1, the public hearing related to Mr. Kelly, the request from an attorney is that we delay it until the next meeting.
Okay.
And our city attorney is familiar with that also. So, and we have a letter making that official request.
And we just ask that be part of the record that the attorney for Jerry Kelly has requested this be postponed until the next meeting.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to 6-2, case number 21-12-16. I'm gonna open up the public hearing on request from Jesus Hinojosa for a 6-month extension of conditional use permit to live in an RV situated at 345 North Atlantic B in Block 683, lots 5 and 6 in Aransas Pass, Texas, while alternate living arrangements can be secured.
Good evening. So this is an old case, and it is coming back to you for a conditional use permit renewal or extension. So the planning division has tried various forms and approaches to get Mr. Hinojosa a place to live, and we are currently in contact with Habitat for Humanity to figure out how best they can help us secure him a place to live, probably a house. Mm-hmm. We currently have a location on 8th and McLang, a land that we are looking at, if they can go for that and then build him a house. And if one issue is that we are trying not to get the city involved in that purchase. So we are negotiating with them to see if they can handle it separately from the city being involved, so they can work it out. And then if, let's say, if it works out, he'll get to live there, and if he's no more, they can take it back and give it to somebody else. To do that, we need some time for him with a conditional use permit so he can live where he is now. We are requesting a 6 months extension. Mm-hmm. And we propose that if this whole deal goes through, it might take 1.5 years. However, if it doesn't go through, he should be able to look for a place for himself within 6 months and leave.
Okay.
That is the request before you.
So have you received a response from Habitat for Humanity? How long is it going to be for you said they're looking into it, right?
Correct.
How long is it going to take them to see if they're able to provide this home for him?
With the negotiations, number one issue is that the location is within San Patricio, and we are in contact with Aransas County Habitat for Humanity. They are looking to connect the main office in Corpus for them to look at. So it might take a time. They've not given a time to answer your question specifically, but probably in about 2 weeks, we can know whether they can work on it or not. Either they will have to, the case will be taken by Corpus, or they will transfer to Rockport Habitat for Humanity for them to take it on. But in 2 weeks' time, we will know whether it can move forward. Besides, the land in question is a land they donated. We are working on to either the city will take it on, or we will let Habitat for Humanity take that portion to deal with, and then the city will back off from that transaction. So on average, we are hoping that in 2 months' time, or at least a month and a half, we will know whether this deal will go through or not.
Any other questions?
I would assume that you were going, that our city attorney, Roxanne, is going to look at any contracts before we get into any negotiations on a piece of property.
Yeah, she is aware of it a little
she
bit,
is, okay.
but she suggested this path of the city standing aside for the habitat and and the land. Yeah, so
I think that's good.
okay.
Okay. And you'll keep us updated on when you hear from Habitat?
Very well.
At least
so.
if you let Gary know, he can give us an update on it.
Yeah, he's into the fold also. So
Okay.
yeah.
Anybody else? We are declare the public hearing closed. Now we're gonna go to consider and act an ordinance granting Jesus Hinojosa a 6-month extension of conditional use permit to live in an RV situated at 345 North Atlantic, being block 683, lots 5 and 6 in Aransas Pass, Texas, until RV-related housing relief can be funded and built.
I'll move to grant Jesus Hinojosa a 6-month extension on a conditional use permit to live in an RV.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to case number 2112-17. And I'll open the public hearing on rezoning request by Hogan Building Company Number 1 LLC from R10 Single Family Dwelling District to PD Planned Development District to develop 44 single-family dwelling on properties located at the southeast corner of Johnson Avenue and State Highway 361, being a 7.861 acre portion of farm lot number 3 and all of lot number 2, land block number 48, Burton and Danforth subdivision, safe and accept an 8,000 square foot tract out of the southeast corner of said farm lots 3 in Aransas Pass, Texas.
Out of the northeast
Northeast
corner.
corner.
Out of the
Okay,
northeast
out of the
corner.
northeast corner.
That's okay.
Yes, so we consider this as a new application, but it is a reference to the old application that applicant submitted, and it was denied. And so the applicant decided to revise his plans based on the comments and suggestions from the neighborhood residents. And he incorporated their viewpoints, and it seems that they have accepted it because there was no one against the application at this time. And there was one person from the neighborhood who wrote to the city that they recommend approval. And so the Planning and Zoning Commission last week, Monday, recommended approval unanimously. And so we recommend that you approve it also.
Any comments from the public?
Richard Peters, 170 East Johnson. I'd like to thank Trey for compromising with their development there, and the neighbors basically don't have any concerns except one. Gotta be one, right? With our original concerns, it was a matter of the traffic up and down Johnson Avenue. And that continues to be a problem, the speeding. And I'll talk to it more at the end when I guess the other section when I can bring up some issues. But that's our remaining concern, and we can address that separately. But thank you, Trey, for compromising, and it's going to, I think, do the city a better job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Peters.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Trey Summers, Hogan Homes. Just want to come up and say it's nice to not have a big group behind me at a council. I don't know the last time that I didn't have a big group following me here. So if y'all have any questions, I'm on standby for y'all. Thank y'all.
Anybody else? I declare this public hearing closed. We're going to go to consider and act an ordinance approving a rezoning request by Hogan Building Company Number 1 LLC for property located at the southeast corner of Johnson Avenue and State Highway 361 from R10 Single Family Dwelling District to PD Planned Development District, being a 7.861 acre portion of farm lot number 3 and all of lot number 2, land block number 48, Burton and Dansford subdivision, save and accept an 8,000 square foot tract out of the northeast corner of said farm lot 3 in Aransas, Texas.
I will make a motion that we approve a rezoning request by Hogan Homes Building Company Number 1 LLC for the property located at the southeast corner of Johnson Avenue and State Highway 361 from R10 Single Family Dwelling District to PD Planned Development District, being a 7.861 acre tract of portion farm lot number 3 and all of lot number 2, land block number 48, Burton and Danforth subdivision, save and accept an 8,000 square foot tract out of the northeast corner of said farm lot 3 in Aransas Pass, Texas.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Thank you, sir.
Finally.
Thank you for being.
Thank you for compromising.
Thank
Merry
you for being
Christmas.
patient and working
Yes,
with
sir.
them.
Merry
Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to go to the city manager, which is the monthly municipal court report for November 2021.
Mr. Mayor and Council, only one item, and I believe you have that. The judge is not here this evening, but has submitted a written report for your review.
Okay, now we're going to go to community enrichment, which is the monthly community enrichment report for November 2021.
What about the ditch? Did I miss? Oh, no, it's me.
Isn't there yet?
It's me.
Can we tell you that he's done for the meeting? Jerry?
Oh, is that Jerry?
Yes.
He has an attorney, so I'm not able to speak to him. Maybe you could
Okay.
jump in.
All right, well, Jerry, we're done for you for tonight. All right, thank you.
You can stay if you are welcome to stay, but you're allowed to go if you want.
I just wanted to make sure he knew that.
Oh, it's not it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to give a brief update of some items that we have been working on in the Community Enrichment Department. I say brief because we are preparing a larger, more detailed presentation for the January 3rd agenda. And at that point, some of the topics that you see, many of the topics that you see tonight in this presentation will be much further fleshed out and presented with a lot more detail. Excuse me. So our main focus for the month of December has really been preparing each of our department segments for the 2022 season and accomplishing and completing our events that have been on the books for the fall and winter seasons currently. For instance, we will start with the Aquatic Center. Right now, we are working on regular equipment maintenance, We are also working on staffing templates and forecasts for our 2022 season. We are solidifying a schedule for swimming lessons, events, and pool hours for the 2022 season. We're preparing for those community events. We are also working with our colleagues in the police department and other departments to discuss the future with the train tracks items, just ensuring that we have a plan and procedure in place for medical personnel to reach the aquatic center once the tracks are fully up and going, because that is an area that's a little bit sectioned off. So we are venturing those dialogues, and we have great folks and great minds that are on that project with us. At the Civic Center, a brief recap for the month of November. We had 17 total events, 14 market days. We did successfully complete the Fall Feast. We had 8 private bookings. This weekend we wrapped up the gun show, and we are preparing for our winter shows. Those market days will be January 8th and 9th and February 12th and 13th. We have completed a venue tour with our colleagues over at the San Patricio Economic Development Corps, and they have at this point given us a confirmation that they would in fact like to bring their annual reception back to the Civic Center in Aransas Pass for 2022.
That's good.
That's good.
Yes.
We have been discussing Prom 2022 to be held at the Civic Center, and again we have similar email correspondence that they have indicated they're really excited to bring that event back to the Civic Center for 2022 with the Aransas Pass Independent School District. We are also preparing the property for an open house in January.
God bless.
Bless you. Where we would like to really showcase the venue in a great light, have our rooms staged, invite our community partners. I would really like this event to do more than just show off a beautiful venue and how we can sell it, but I'd also like to really capitalize on the idea that the Civic Center is a community center, and where, yes, we utilize that for large bookings and a venue for corporate events and et cetera, but it's also a spot that we would like to utilize for investing in our community and meeting those needs as well. Along those lines, I didn't make this a bullet point specifically because I'd like to go into it further in January. Our senior programs, that's something that is important to me and to the team to bring back. We know that there's some challenges with our senior service facility that used to be implemented specifically for those purposes. So in the meantime, we're evaluating doing those events at the Civic Center so that we do not have to delay them further. So again, have a little bit more on that at the next meeting.
Good for you, yes.
Good for
Yes.
you.
That's a big deal.
In our library area, a couple of statistics for the month of November. They had 1,227 walk-in library visits, 696 book checkouts and other item checkouts. Through the online book rental system, they had 122 checkouts. And for their storytime activities, they had 342. On your in-person and online checkouts, you'll notice the numbers have almost swapped just a little bit from the previous report, where you have a higher number of your walk-in traffic and a little lower on that online. And I think that's indicative of the fact that folks are starting to be a little more comfortable coming back out and seeing things in person. And our library staff has been doing a great job meeting our public safety and concern needs over there. On our next and the next slide, some of the items that we're working on through the department and the marketing field is we're creating logos for 2 of our properties, the Civic Center and the Aquatic Center, so that we can have a really unified voice and brand as we order the next round of 2022 print and other media ads. We are also staging our rooms for venue tours and photos. That's going to be very helpful for our sales campaigns in the next upcoming year to be able to showcase those items. And then we're also working with our print publishers to refresh some of the city's general advertising message to, again, go along with a succinct message, welcoming folks to visit the town, whether a short time or to make this their new home. So those are a couple of things we've been working on for November and December. If you have any questions.
What do you do during the rest of the day?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're a breath of fresh air.
Very encouraging.
Yes.
Very encouraging.
Very different.
Pleased,
Yes.
pleased.
We
Very
have a
pleased.
wonderful team. Thank you guys for your
Thank
support.
you.
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Merry
For the
Christmas.
record, a lot gooder.
Like gooder.
A lot gooder.
I'd like to do my report next council meeting.
Okay.
That was a great report.
That
Yeah,
is
it
a great
was.
report.
A lot of work.
Yes.
She's put a lot of work into it.
I didn't mean to.
Hit the ground running is what we
Yep.
would say about
Okay,
her.
now,
That's awesome.
we're gonna go to Development Services, which is considered Enacting Issuance, a request for proposals from a Campbell ditch cleaning and debris removal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just like everybody before me, want to share more good news in this Christmas holidays. I know this project's been something we've been working with for a while. I know Carrie's been involved with this, and I know since I started, we've been trying with the county. We tried doing control burns with the fire department. We've gotten shut down every way we could, but I think we have a solution for it. We met with a contractor, which was last year. Numbers were not quite where our budget was because our money was already allocated for the Euclid ditch. So this year, we do have some funding already available. Been speaking to various contractors, and we got some preliminary numbers. Because of the amount, we do have to go out for bids. So we would like to request permission to put together a bid and advertise to get someone to come in and clean out that ditch, take all the debris out, do some silt removal so that there's no more islands in the middle, and allow for water to flow properly and stay in there instead of having all that stuff blocking it and coming back out into the street. So
That'd be awesome.
Yay.
Long time coming.
4 years I've been crying over this. So,
And
yay.
before then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Yeah, go for it.
I make a motion to approve staff to go out for RFPs for clearing and removal of debris on the McCampbell ditch.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to consider enacting the issuance of a 3 requests for proposals for a rail point system, tap machine, and water line material.
So this is also good news. This is a project that's part of the American Rescue Plan. So it's a grant-funded project. We do have an engineer doing the other 4. This one's is this water line. We wanted to do it in-house with staff. These RFPs is to purchase the equipment and material we need. Now, the beauty of this is we will get a well point system and a tap machine for the city that we can use from here on out and save us a lot of time and money, and the grant's paying for it. But in order for us to do it, we got to go out for bids. So that is the purpose of this, is so that we can go out for bids to get the equipment and material, and then it will be done in-house by city staff.
And that tap system is gonna work for sewer and water lines.
Yes, and it's going to come with several sizes for the different water sizes and sewer sizes.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion that we authorize staff to publish 3 RFPs for material and equipment needed to complete the water line project under the American Rescue Plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the monthly Public Works report.
All right, some quick overviews on utility department. The main thing for them, and it's going to continue being, is the issues with water and sewer because of the cooler weather. We're starting to see old lines starting to break and grease in our lines because the cooler weather, the holidays, cooking, people putting stuff down their sink. So it's a good time to remind residents, please do not pour oils and fats and grease into the system because that causes problem further downstream. So that's one thing they've been working on, trying to do preventive maintenance.
Fernando, that may be a good thing to put in the newsletter, that statement.
I'll get you something tomorrow for that.
Yeah, we've been working on it today.
The street department, their biggest thing this this past month was the street sweeper. I don't know if y'all seen it around
Yes,
town, but they've been
I did.
going and sweeping and sweeping and sweeping, and we're putting it into use. So that's the main thing we've been focusing right now, and doing potholes as well. We're getting ready to start the 11 roads that we budgeted for to start doing the paving, or the reclamite, which will make them look like paved streets.
Right.
We did a practice run in a little patch there at the yard, and it looks like asphalt street. So they're going to look really nice when we're done with them. And to do 11 streets for the cost of one,
God
it's it's gonna be great. I think with this, majority of our dirt streets will be gone. We're even looking at doing, railroad, cause we had enough savings in there that I think we're gonna have enough. That's an
Oh,
alternate
wow.
road right now, so, it's looking really good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that is
Um,
awesome.
Update on all the projects that were going on with the city. The Colonia Grant project over at Sherwood Forest. We've received the bid documents and specs for the project already by the engineer. The plans should be coming in. Hopefully, I'm hoping tomorrow they're here so I can review them before the end of the week. Our goal is to advertise them on January 5th and open bids on the 20th so that the first meeting in February, we award the contract. So we're already at that point when we're getting them out. Storm pump stations number 1 and 2. These are the last FEMA project we have. We did receive bids. We have not brought it back to y'all for awarding because the bids came out higher than what FEMA allocated for that project. It is a large project, so it is as whatever the final cost is, but we want to make sure FEMA's going to cover it before we award it, because we don't want to be stuck with having to fit the bill on something that wasn't budgeted for. So once we get clarification on that, we'll bring it back, and we're hoping that'll be in January. CDBG grant projects. There's been a lot of movement on Stapp and McCampbell. Most of McCampbell is complete from Blossom to Stapp. The 2 intersections are the ones that they left out because of the conflicts with water lines. We're able to do those water lines in-house so that there's no change orders and it doesn't impact the project. So this, the Stapp and McCampbell intersection, the water line has been cut. It's not affecting anybody. The guys were able to isolate it, so the contractor should be this week putting in those last boxes, close it up, and then reactivate that water line. The one on Myrtle will be starting next week by our staff for the water line, but the contractor is going to continue down Stapp while they're waiting on the Myrtle intersection, so it's not going to delay the project any. The Greenwood, DeBerry, and Saunders storm project, we already had a pre-construction meeting. We've been given the contracts and the notice to proceed. The contractor is starting to mobilize, and they're beginning on January 10th. So that project's kicking off as well. We did receive all the specs, plans, specs and bid documents for the next 5 projects, which is Highland, Johnson, South 13th, Wilson, and Nelson. We're under review those right now, and the plans should be coming in this week too. Our goal is to advertise the 5th, open on the 20th, and bring it to council the first meeting in February so we can award those as well. And those will be the final projects on that grant. And these are 100% covered through the grant, no cost to the city.
I hope you rest up on the weekends, right?
Once that construction starts, it's going to be a lot of work. And we did get a request from the contractor doing the DeBerry, Saunders, and Greenwood if they can work on a Saturday. At this point, we're saying yes. They're staying within the 7 to 4, 8 to 5, depending on sunrise and sunset, mainly to expedite these projects and get them done faster. Sure. So as long as there's no complaints from the residents, we'll continue that. So they'll be working 6 days a week.
And that's not going to increase the cost to us, right?
No.
Okay.
Ball field improvements and the new pavilion. We did meet with the architects and engineers last week. Gary, myself, and our project manager sat down with them. We went over their presentation that's coming to council at the next workshop and go over the different options, the different sizes. They have some renderings of what the facilities will look like, so I'm looking forward to that, and we'll be presenting to y'all at the next workshop so we can start making those final decisions and get these designs finalized. On the American Rescue Plan, as I mentioned, we got the RFP going for those, the project we're doing in-house. The other ones, the engineer's actually going to be here tomorrow, and they're doing all their surveying this week and next week so they can start designing and getting those projects ready. Street lighting. John has ordered the quick connects, and they've been delivered at the end of November. They were delivered for the Wheeler and Cleveland lights. They're out. We got 12 of those in. He has a couple of lights that the LED lights are out, and he's requesting to order those. He's got 6 or 7 he's ordering. We're getting those ordered tomorrow. We had the downtown lightings. He had everything up and running for the parade. Every now and then one still goes out. He had some other drivers he sent off to have them ready in case it happens again. He has the drivers on hand to fix those. There was a light on Commercial and Myrtle that had been knocked down, that was reported to AP. They did come in last month and replace it, and it's up and running again. We got complaints on McCampbell and Greenwood area where there was almost an abduction there. A chief reported that there were some lights out, that a resident complained. We went out, there were 3 poles, reported to AP, and they said they were sending someone out there to investigate them. And let's see, what's the other one? McMullen and Avenue A, that intersection is a little complicated with all the stuff we have on there. We're working with AEP to get a final cost estimate. On the east side of the road, we have the 24-inch water line that feeds our ground tank at Avenue A. We got our own water line. We got a fiber optic line. And on the west side, we have the force main that comes out of Mullen lift station that goes down to Nelson. And then we have a 12-inch water line that belongs to the city on the edge of the road. That's the intersection where the county and city meet also. So right now we're looking, the best option is probably going to be the northwest corner there by the school to put the light. But I'm waiting on final numbers from AEP. Their design is about a month away, and then hopefully we can do that. We're looking at about $3,000 to $4,000 for that one. And it'll be a new LED light, so it'll light up the area. Trying to think if there's another one.
Fernando, you're talking McMullen and Avenue A?
Yes. There's no light there currently, and Vicky had requested that one, and because of the school traffic in the mornings, especially.
How far is that from McClung, though? Was that
Not
there?
McClung, McMullen.
Oh, you were, okay. I
Yeah,
thought you said
McMullen.
McClung there.
No. We're looking at McMullen because that's where all the school traffic comes in and out, and
No, it's
so that's the one we're looking at right now.
You're talking about even during the games and, basketball
In
and
the
all that.
evenings, yeah.
Mhm.
And right now with the time change by 5:30, it's
It's
dark, and there's
dark,
kids
yeah.
coming out of practice and so forth. So
Yeah, very dark.
that would be an intersection that would have, like I said, it would be the pole with a new light. And I think he said it was a 55-foot pole because of the depth that got to go and stuff. So once I get that final number, I'm assuming we got to come to council to get approval to put that light in. And then that brings up another topic that I haven't discussed with Gary yet, but I've been doing some research because we've been getting calls on areas of town that need lighting and so forth. A lot of these subdivisions are old, and the standards back then weren't what they are now with the distance requirements. I looked into what City of Portland's been doing. In 2015, they passed an ordinance that they have a policy in place now and a plan where they budget every year a certain amount of lights to be done. So we will have to look at all the intersections and come up with a list of what are the problem areas and then start prioritizing. And then they took it a step further, and when a resident or a neighborhood requests a light, they do a cost share. So I want to look at that a little bit further, maybe bring it back in a workshop to discuss more with the council and see if that's something we want to start looking into. So I got all their information on what they did and doing some more research on it so that maybe as we're planning this next fiscal year, we can start looking at being proactive and start planning for these areas that are dark in town before we start getting those calls.
Correct.
So,
I think it's,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, go right ahead.
Another area is Bay Harbor.
yes.
And a written request was sent to Bay Harbor, or to AEP, and we're waiting for that response at this point. But that is in motion at this point. And so I just want to make you aware that's something that we're working with the AEP on there at CMIS and 361. So, anyway.
So I'll gather more information and plan a workshop so we can discuss it a little further and see if this is something we want to proceed with for this next fiscal year.
I have a question. I don't know not sure what can be done about this, but I know as you go through different streets in town, you see like a big blob of concrete that has been dropped in different areas. Like there was one that I called Corey in front of HEB, on commercial, right there in the corner. And you can just kind of see there's one out there by churches that, cement trucks puts it, and it's usually real close to where there's like a drain. And it stays there and it's not cleaned up. And to me, it would be hard for our sweeper to go in and
Yes.
clean that. So I know there's different spots, so I don't know what we can do as a city to, talk to the concrete company. You can't say it's the one we have in town.
We've
'cause they
had
come
talked
from all
to
over.
the local ones, because we get reports that they saw the truck and they dumped it, so the city will call them and they'll send someone to clean it up, but we gotta be on them constantly, and we've talked to them about it before. It's something that keeps reoccurring. A lot of it happens around the HB area, And
So
some are
put some
cement runs and
materials.
some are the material business that they're next to them too, so.
Yeah, so we did, I reached out to the material business this last week because there was a scattering on, like Good Night and Harrison.
Mhm.
There was also a scattering by HEB, and we were assured that it was going to be cleaned up the next morning. In fact, we stayed on them for like 2 days. And, my staff said that they were assured by that mixture company by HEB that they're gonna clean it up. Most often, they are the culprit, and we're often getting sent out there to ask them to clean it up, and most of the times they've been very compliant in doing so.
Okay. I'll double check, okay.
I know you will, and so will I before you hope to.
And what do we have in plan as far as the city, how to keep the lights, you know, the street lights, there's some that are out for a long, long time. So do we have any procedures that we go by? Like, for instance, do you have someone go once a month? to kind of- I was on light patrol with Rudy, okay? And,
Bless you.
and so I just kind of want, what do we have in place to prevent, you know, because these lights are out, and unless you go down these roads, you're not gonna see, and residents will call the city, or maybe not complain, the city's not doing anything about it. So what can we do as a city in order to keep the lights lit up?
Yeah, and currently, there's nothing in place that I'm aware of. I know before PD had sent us a list, and we went through that, checked it. All the ones that belong to AP were reported. The ones that were city, we try to handle them in-house, and then some were submitted to TxDOT. But that was a while back. We don't currently have anything in place, but that's something that we're gonna start looking into and see how we can address this, especially if we start doing this ordinance where we start looking at areas that don't have lighting. That's gonna be more lighting for us to keep track of. And anytime a resident does, if y'all get a call from a resident about a light, we need the pole number. If they
Right.
have that pole number, we can report it to AP and they will go out there and fix it.
I'm just kind of wondering if that's something you can also include in the newsletter.
Yes, in the newsletter, and then there, Fernando touched on something, and other cities do this also, and I've not talked with the chief at all about this, but, starting that process again, when one is seen, since the police department's out a lot, just make a list, and we can work from that list. That's certainly one way to
So
address it.
that's what I've tried to get to do, is like on a once a year, once every 2 years. It's a lot of work. I know you say do it more regularly. It's not practical for the officers to do that. But if we can focus on it and do it once a year, once every couple of years, we check every single street, every single intersection, and they report that. I also have a system in place to where at any time they can do, if they're in an area dealing with a call or a case or something, or they're just patrolling and they see a light out, they report that light. During the daytime, I'll report a light on. If the light's on in daylight, it shouldn't be on. So
Correct.
those are getting reported at random, but when we see it, come across it. But I try to focus on the entire city once a year or once every 2 years by sending the guys out. And my supervisors will cordon off the areas and they'll focus to get it done within a couple of days. But to do it with like once a month or something, there's no way I can.
Okay, well, I understand that, because I just know I was on
And if
patrol with
residents can't
Rudy,
find a
so-
phone number, if they just want to report the closest address to it, we can
Okay.
send staff out during the day and
Understand.
look for that number.
Just kind of notify the residents, because they're the first ones to know whenever their light is out, because
Yeah.
it's important, especially now
And I
that
think if
it's
we
so
do put in the
dark.
newsletter, even if it's just a location for it, then we can send someone to get that number. The last thing I have on here is, we had gotten some reports of the boardwalk by the dog park that was missing some boards and broken boards. Staff went out there and they have replaced every single board that was broken, that was missing, so that's.
Oh, wow.
This morning they went out there. I don't know, I wasn't aware if that belonged to the city or not. Since I've been here, no one's ever done anything with that park, but speaking to some people, in the past, there used to be trash cans out there, and the city would pick them up, so I told them we're taking it over from this point forward. So
Oh,
this
very
morning,
good.
they went out there, made all the repairs, with the exception of the pavilion that's there, the little gazebo is missing some roof stuff, but I told them at this point not to worry about that, just worry about the safety features.
Right.
So all the boards and railings were replaced that were missing.
Oh,
So
very
if y'all
good.
get calls on that, or if y'all see any more on it, it's
Okay.
addressed already.
All right, thank you
Right.
very much.
Any other questions?
Wow, you
Yeah.
had a fantastic
Thank you.
report.
I
Thank
think
you very
Fernando-
much.
Fernando, as far as the Little League fields getting done, are they still on schedule to be ready to go by opening season next year?
Yes, because we're looking at the grading based on, and when y'all get the presentation, you'll see the cost breakdown for all these things. We're gonna do the grading in-house. The engineers are gonna provide us the survey and proposed grading, and then we'll work with the Little League and with the softball lease and get it graded out.
Okay.
And that should be done by March, in-house. And then we're looking at the construction of the pavilion and the Little League building after Shrimpery.
Okay.
So that gives them time to design, bid it, and then get contracts so that as soon as all those events are over, we can start the construction.
Okay.
So, and you'll be, it's,
And it's gonna have grass, right?
yes, that's what part of the grading is we want to seed it and water it and get it nice, make it look really good for our kids to enjoy it.
And I'm just gonna voice my opinion on this. I don't think we should have any parking with the
On the grass,
shrimpery.
yeah.
Once the fields are done, we cannot allow parking on either fields.
I agree
Oh, no,
100%.
I
yeah.
agree.
Because they use it
yeah.
a lot for
That was-
parking,
Yeah.
and that's,
No, no.
That's pretty much, no.
well, I
If
don't
they
know.
fix them, we can't run over them.
I just wanna make sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
no doubt.
right.
All right, thanks, Fernando.
Thank you.
Monthly building department report.
As you can see, we're still growing. We've got 91 permits this month, and dollar-wise, we're still ahead of schedule. So I do have a little bit of news. I don't know if everybody here knows that Tito passed his exam, his code enforcement. So did Corey. So
Yay.
he passed his, and so we've got 2 licensed code enforcement officers.
Okay, very good.
And Tim's in and out. I believe that's been resolved.
Oh,
We'd had some issues with them as far as contaminated water being discharged, and so that was on hold for a little while. Coasters is open. So is, I think it's Billy Ellis's place, or Ellis's. We've got, of course, we've got Motel 6. He's still moving forward.
They're creeping, but they're doing.
Just a little bit at a time. I wish I could make him go faster, but I can't. The Napa Auto Zone, or Napa Auto Place, their auto parts, they poured their slab, as has, well, they poured their slab, and then the checkout place, they're working on theirs. They're almost ready to pour, so we're still growing.
That's good.
I'm gonna keep it going that way.
That's good, that's good.
Any questions?
Any new businesses looking to come into town that we don't know about yet?
None that I've heard of. Anybody knows of anybody that's looking, let me know. We need the business.
That's true.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks, Burl.
Now we're gonna go to finance, which is the monthly finance department report.
Finance is not here, so I'm assuming you received your written report.
Yes, we did.
So she's off on vacation because of the holidays.
Did
So
we approve that?
I'm sorry?
Did we approve that? I'm kidding.
So that's it, Mr. Mayor, on finance.
Okay, now we're gonna consider an act on approving the issuance of request for proposal for installing public safety boats at the Harbor Safety and Enforcement Office on Huff Street.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and this is something that we've been trying to do for maybe a couple years now, but we needed to get the harbor building put back up. It's in place, and now we want to stick out 4 docks, 2 with lifts and 2 that are, I guess, transient. If you have any particulars, I have Harbor Safety and Enforcement Officer Jack McCarty here to answer any particulars you may have. This is a project that would be funded out of the Federal Asset Forfeiture Program, since we have since taken over Harbor Safety and Enforcement.
I was glad to see the banner go up that it's police.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to
Very-
add more so you can see it coming both directions too. And then, so
Yeah.
some, but
But
yeah,
it's-
we did identify the building now, and
Exactly.
we should have contact information, I think, as we recall. And then you might also have seen the dock that has been replaced out there. Gary and Sandra found funding, and we've also fixed an area with slippage at that one fish cleaning station by cutting out channels so that the water can drain. That was something that Jack worked on very closely to get it expedited, and finance found funding, and it's made a difference.
Fantastic. Very good.
If you have any particulars on the boat docks, as far as what that entails, Officer McCarty can address those.
Yeah, where exactly are you building new docks right next to the building?
That's actually a good question. So it's going to be where the building, the backside of the building faces the water. It's going to be directly in front of there, kind of where that little area comes out and then comes back around by the and leads straight out to the marina. It's going to be right there. It's going to take approximately 70 feet.
Okay, because I know we still got shrimp boats that come down, like Gulf boats during shrimp season, and if they ever have any problems, you'll see them out there doing outrigger work on their boats, and I didn't know if they're still going to be allowed to do that, or if they are, if they'll have room to do it with these new docks in place.
Yes, sir. The way I've kind of specified what I would like for this dockage will, I mean, basically, if you look at it, we're only taking up the spot of one shrimp boat. Most of the guys that come out and do the outrigger work kind of do it between my office and the boathouse, just because they're courteous and try to keep their lines out of our way in case we have to respond to an emergency. It just gives us probably the best area, and it also provide them a little bit of protection too from any incoming current and anything like that.
Okay.
Jack, is that something that maybe we can have a discussion with some of them to head off any potential problems when you see them pulling up out there next time?
As far as
the shrimp boat guys, just have a discussion, let them know what we're looking at doing, and see what their input and
Yes, sir.
feedback is.
Absolutely.
They won't be back till the summer.
Well,
I can also talk to Grant Erickson as well and see if he has anything to throw out there. I know me and him had spoken about this a couple months ago, and he didn't seem to have any issues with the idea as well.
I would say, wouldn't the person you go out to that is awarded the bid can kind of look at that?
Yes,
Letting
ma'am.
them know, I mean, they can address that?
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Thank you all.
Thank you, Jack.
I'll make a motion that we approve the police chief to go out for bids for installing public safety boat docks at the Harbor Safety and Enforcement Office located on Huff Street.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to consider and act on the issuance of a request for proposals for animal control facilities remodel phase 2.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, this is just another part of animal control. As you might recall, we went out 2 times last time for requests for proposals. We received nothing. We had to move forward because we had to get the roof replaced, even though we couldn't meet the procurement guidelines. So Gary authorized that exigent circumstance so that we could move forward, or we potentially would just lost the whole building to mold or whatever, rot. That has been done. Now we're going out for RFPs again to see if phase 2 can kick off. These are just really maintenance issues and cleanup issues. Really, we need a new facility, but it's not in the highest level of priority to where we can move on right now. So we're trying to sustain with what we got, a little bit of improvements and additions, hopefully to go a long way, but in the long run, we are going to need to look at increasing our facility size. I have Captain Aaron Jones here, who supervises my animal control services, to answer any particulars related to this RFP.
Well, you know, PetSmart and a lot of those other animal places, they give a lot of money to communities, and maybe we could reach out to them to see if they can help put a program together for us.
We actually received grants from them, I believe, last year.
We did, I know.
I'm not sure if we've looked into anything more recent than that. I think that grant was a 2-year thing, so we may have another year before we can put in for the PetSmart one.
And also the trailer we have that's been very helpful on adoptions was also a Petco. I think that was a Petco grant. So we may be up and eligible again there to look. So good suggestion.
And it's how, like, with the amount of work that we have that needs to be done, it's probably going to, when we get to phase 3 or 4, we're probably going to max out the budget that we already have for these projects. So we're kind of prioritizing what has to be done and what we can wait on, and we're kind of working through the list that way.
Yeah.
The funding source for this too, as you know, is the Crime Control and Prevention District.
If we can get it donated.
Even better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Favor of the council?
I make a motion to approve city staff to go out for bids on obtaining proposals for Phase 2 of the Animal Control Facility remodel.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the monthly public safety report.
All right. Well, it's not as exciting as the other reports you heard this evening. It's pretty customary. Animal control, if you've seen online, we've kind of taken some heat over that online, Facebook. I don't follow it, but people screenshot it and send it to me. I will tell you, we finally had a success on North 13th Street. If you've ever heard complaints about some loose dogs in that area, it's taken us 2 to 3 years to resolve that. And I want to say that was mostly resolved because of people in the neighborhood that trapped the dog or something like that. So some of those situations with these dogs and stuff can take time. And it's not for lack of trying, it's just the humane way of trying to capture them and to, mitigate the problem. Thank you, PAC, for giving us a lot of dog food. We were able to do some dog food giveaways that the community got to come up and collect free food if they needed it. And Officer Gates has started teaching the local rabies class to new animal control officers. She's even recently, you might have saw the publication we released today, Captain Jones, the training coordinator, supervises animal control services and supervises dispatch from the administrative duties that he has. She received her TCOL state certification to be an instructor as well, meaning she can teach cops, dispatchers, and actually submit for accredited training by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. So we don't just lead in animal control, but I think we even teach the future leaders that are joining the animal control service. So I'm real proud of the work that they're doing there. Training, this past summer, Captain Jones organized some great training courses related to active threat response in the school environment. And as you know, we had our own little active threat situation. Fortunately, no chaos happened here other than the chaos of our response, which was a very good response. We actually, on debriefing later on, were focused on some of the negatives. We continue to hear from this day from other agencies and stuff, even asking us, where did you guys learn how to do all that? And that is something that Captain Jones and his team that he puts together, assembles during the summer to focus on that school detailed training. We have a very good training mechanism and a robust response. And this next summer, we plan to expand it. School will even participate in that training. They did start their Guardian program, so they have armed staff. And that armed staff is working with law enforcement to regularly train, and they'll participate in the active threat training this next summer. So we're expanding that each and every year. The other training is minor compared to that. No, good training, but it's not. You can read it there. We're gearing up for the Texas Communicator Symposium. This will be the 3rd year that we put the symposium on. It's now called the Crystal Bath TCO Symposium. We have some very good training coming for telecommunicators. It's a very well-regarded program. We're trying to expand it every year, and we're hoping to get a really good turnout this year without, hopefully, COVID setting us back again or holding us down. Dispatch, by the way, did a tremendous job during the high school event. As you can imagine, they had to respond to potentially over 100 law enforcement officers that came to our community during that response, and they had to organize all that chaos. They did a wonderful job. We're working on filling 2 positions. We have an opening in dispatch. We had hired one. The job wasn't right for that person. They left. So we got an opening there. We have a patrol opening as well. And I just processed admin our biannual policy updates. We update our local policy manual about twice a year to stay up with state and federal mandates and just to do a little house cleaning and cleanup. So that was just recently pushed out. All versions of our policy are publicly available online, going all the way back to when I started in the department. So anybody can see our policies online. You have the patrol and the CID reports on there. I'm going to start giving them to you like this because I think that when I try to summarize it, I'm taking away the full message. For example, an officer conducted a traffic stop, got 17 grams of cocaine off that stop, 3 grams of fentanyl. If you've paid attention to fentanyl, very dangerous substance. So it was a great bust by the patrol officer. We've been having some problems at one of the local bars, so we're starting to kick back in with bar inspections, bar checks. We don't need violence at our bars, and this happens to be a bar that brought a lot of violence back my early years here, so we're trying to head that off. Let me see. Another guy was busted with 6 grams of meth. 2 situations I'm going to talk about. One was in December, so that would have been next month, but one was in November. Both situations, we were dealing with suicidal subjects. 'Tis the season, right, for the holidays. One had his 2 wheels pulled up on the harbor and was ready to just gun it and shoot off the edge of the harbor. A couple days before, I believe, they had found his son had hung himself in their house, and this gentleman was having a hard time with it. Our officer spent a good while there. I don't know how much time, but a good while, and managed to talk him down. And this is what I want to say, because our staff does a tremendous job. Instead of grabbing the guy, going hands off, slamming him on the ground, he gave him a hug. And then they took him in to get treated. Incredible job by the officer. We had another one where we had a standoff in the neighborhood just this last week. House surrounded. We cleared out all the homes around the guy that would clear out. Some people, as you imagine, don't care. They'll just stay in their home. And we had to free a woman who was trapped inside, barricaded. She cleaned herself out a window. She cleared herself out a window. The officers got her to safety, checked on her. We provided family violence services, which she receives. The gentleman, one of our other officers, ended up talking to him for a good long while, probably over an hour. And several times the guy hung up on him. Finally, he came out. The officer approached, sat down basically with him, and had a conversation. Got him in. We had to arrest him. We had no choice because of the violations, but we got him set up for services in jail. Incredible staff. It makes me emotional just thinking how personable our folks are. You guys really, if you haven't been on a ride-along or seen, please come. See what these guys do. They're amazing. CID, as you can see, very, very busy. I'm going to let you guys read that. I'm looking right here real quick. See if anything stands out. Actually, they all stand out. I'll let you guys focus on them. We did our monthly surveys. We got all 10s. Well, I can see why. I mean, we got a good team. But again, I tell people, and like you got counsel, you guys are really good. You see negativity, you bring it to my attention. I need the public to do the same thing. Tell me where you perceive failures or fault. Let me focus on that. If it's a perceptual issue, we'll clear the air. If it's a fault or a failure, we want to fix it. My team believes that as well. So that's all I got for you. I had to try to top Kaylin, but I can't. I can't. She did an outstanding job.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mayor and Council. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the monthly fire department report.
All right. Following all this tonight.
just to go over the call, we ran 58 calls for that month. I already started looking at our call volume versus last year because that's always interesting to me, and we're going to be more calls than we ran last year by a lot. So it'll be interesting when I get to finally give that report to you guys. But we didn't have that many building fires, just 3. So that's actually was pretty good for the month. EMS training, or not just EMS training, but all of our training, we put in 83 hours total. One thing that's not reflected in this training hours, this is, when I show you this, guys, this is the in-house. This is what the guys are training themselves, or captains are training their firefighters, or I'm working with them on training and that kind of stuff. Starting in COVID, I set a standard for what I wanted the guys to accomplish over this next year. And because almost all training went to online, the guys all had classes they had to take online that we set for them. Everyone that has gone through one of the classes has now passed through it. And with that, we were able to pick up 2 fire officers, fire officer 1s. These are guys that are either in an officer position or looking to move into that officer position. I think we picked up like 3 inspectors, 2 instructors. I mean, these guys worked hard, and doing online is just monotonous and tedious work. And it's when you're balancing the stuff that you have to do every day at work, and then, you know, even home life, and these guys are working it on home. They were able to still get through this class, and it just was, I'm really proud of the guys for doing what they did. Inspections were at 6. So some notable things that happened in November. I think some of you may know that I got re-elected to the Board of Directors of Texas Fire Marshals Association. I also, the other board I serve on is more local. It's the CPLAPC. I'm the chairperson for the Fire Chiefs Association. I also got re-elected to that. So they trying to keep me as busy as they can with stuff, I guess. Also, we had all of our trucks recently PM'd. It's something we do, well, I do it every day, but these are all the big PM stuff. I wanted to let you guys know with the ladder truck, they said it's looking great, that my guys are doing an excellent job keeping up with it. They say never see ladder trucks come in where all the cables and stuff are perfectly greased all the time. So they said we're doing a very good job of keeping that up. The engine, still doing great. It's going to be 6 years old this year, so the guys, you know, the maintenance that we're doing to it now is, we can tell it's taking care of things down the road. So that's about all I have, unless you guys have anything for me. It's an easy report this year, or this month. No?
No.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Well, we'll just keep doing a good job then.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, city council or staff announcement.
Just one item, we still don't have a work session scheduled, primarily because we're waiting to hear from the railroad, and they can have representatives here to talk about the tracks. We've given them 3 options, and they are working on it. I've been in contact with them late last week, and they indicated they are working on it. The other issue is what Fernando referred to earlier, and that is you'll get a report on the park improvements, all the elements of the park improvements, and there'll be some decisions that need to be made in that also, I believe. That's also part of it, and we plan to add a few items. Was talking about another one today, and we'll have to prioritize and decide what additional items, because there's a long list that'll go on this agenda for this yet to be scheduled date. Again, waiting for the railroad to find out when they can make it. So that's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matters that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policy, Advise that this subject be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
Come on up.
Guess we don't want to talk about it. Richard Peters, 170 East Johnson. As I mentioned earlier, I'm concerned with the traffic. Speeding continues on Johnson Avenue, going toward the ball field especially. I've been in communication with the city manager as early as February and chief. And I just want to read a response that I got from Patrol Captain Dave Muniz here in October. That kind of explains a little bit, but maybe help me along here. Good morning. The chief has asked me to look into our efforts, into what efforts we have been taking to track down speeders on East Johnson. I've provided you with a call. I have provided you with a call search showing how many times we're out on East Johnson for various reasons. A lot of calls for service or extra patrols. This involves officers patrolling East Johnson to check out the shrimp regrounds as well as the aquatic center, park, Little League field, as well as softball field. It also involves officers looking for traffic violators while they are in the area. I would agree that there should be speed bumps in this area, considering there have always been concerns for speeders in this area. We unfortunately cannot place a police officer on this road for hours at a time to do traffic enforcement. I wish we could, but that would not be feasible with the number of officers and call volume we have daily. Along with the other location citizen request officers to conduct traffic enforcement due to speeders and go through some streets and what have you here. And the school zones daily. I have suggested to the chief to see if the crime board could possibly fund a traffic enforcement officer position whose sole mission would basically be traffic enforcement and crash investigations. As for now, I will continue to ask for patrol officers to work the traffic enforcement in East Johnson when officers find time. So the point I want to make, there's a statement here that says he agrees that speed bumps should be put there. And I understand we have budget issues, and maybe we can't afford to hire another officer just for enforcement. But to me, speed bumps would be a much less expensive option and would address the problem on a regular basis. The most frequently, and I know there's been some other correspondence I've had, and there's been a statement that they've done a study. They had sent people out there to basically monitor the situation, for a couple weeks, early in February. And I agree they were there, and I'm not trying to throw stones or anything like that, but I observed them monitoring the situation. And I just took this picture. This is my car at the stop sign at the end of the street. This is where I observed the police car monitoring the situation. So people turning down Johnson toward the ball field had a squad car sitting there that said police on it. How many people are going to speed or run through that stop sign with the squad car sitting there looking at them in the face? And I don't know if that was always the case, but a number of times during that period, that's what I observed. My neighbors observed a squad car sitting there. There's nobody's going to commit any issues at that point. But it was mentioned that they checked it at random points or random times, and the reality of the situation is that when this mostly occurs is when there's activity at the ball fields. When the kids are down there playing baseball, it's parents rushing their kids to the ball game because they're late, or rushing because they want to see their kids play. It's when the adults are playing softball, they're rushing. They're driving their trucks down, they're racing down the street all the time. And during football, this last fall when they're practicing football there. Those are the times that this occurs most. So you're not, if you're going to sit there and look during the day, you're probably not going to see it too much. And I agree, it's not something that's all day long that people are racing down the street. But there are periods of time where that's a raceway. And those are, it's at times when there are kids out there and accidents are more likely to happen. And now with this new subdivision going in, and one of the entrances is gonna be right on East Johnson. I don't know if you saw the new plans. The original plan was both entrances off on Johnson, and they did move one, which I appreciate. They were very cooperative in doing that. But on the other hand, it's going to be more traffic down there because a lot of people are not going to be coming in off of commercial into that subdivision. They're going to come down Johnson and go into Sideway. It's safer. Let's face it. You're going to try to get in off a busy street or off a side street. Traffic's. Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
So I would like this to be added as for consideration
I'm pretty
at
sure
the
the chief
next
Be on
agenda.
it.
So we have provided, and I myself have sat out there in an unmarked and actually tried to catch stop sign violators myself, just at random. Of course, not during the games or activities per se, but that has been, Mr. Peters did share that, like you shared before council, and we did try to get the officers to focus on the area. Sometimes an officer, if he's going to be working on paperwork or something like that, he may stage out there. It's called command presence, just to be in the area so people see him and don't want to violate the law. But it is very hard to focus, and this isn't the only traffic complaint by no stretch of the imagination. We have them all over the town where they get reported, and they have to try to balance on top of other requests for service. We did talk about installation of speed bumps. The greatest resistance I have from speed bumps has been from the EMS service, and at one point I think fire might have had some concerns, but fire's kind of said, you know what, I think we'll be okay. We'll slow it down a little bit on there. EMS is concerned because they're trying to rush into the medical emergency and then rush out. They had a medic, they hit a speed bump, and a medic flew up and hit his head on the ceiling, and I'm like, well, didn't the driver say, hey, heads up, speed bump, brace, communicate, you can get past that. I think speed bumps being installed out there might be the next step for us. We put the radar trailer out. I want to get the radar trailer again and give me a report on vehicles going, what the consensus of that speed is, how many violators as opposed to non, because it will tell us, run us a report. It's an add-on we have to put on it. But I think for this situation, Mr. Peters is not the only one to have expressed concern in that area. It may be something to look towards speed bumps and having them installed. And I think, Fernando, we were looking at something kind of like what is around the aquatic center. So we'll go back to the drawing board on that and maybe come back to you guys with some information.
Yeah, I'd like to see something on that also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go into executive session. Section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act and Section 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or of employee relating to professional building official services.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all for coming.
Merry
Christmas.
Oh, how you doing? Let me see. 7:13.